And the nature of whiplash in a business is you may think you're feeling it as the owner. Imagine what the staff is feeling it. And if the staff is feeling it, imagine what the members are feeling.
Welcome to the Best Hour of Their Day podcast with your hosts, Jason Fernandez.
And me, Jason Ackerman. With more than 20 years in the business,
As both coaches and affiliate owners,
our passion is to help create world-class affiliates
and coaches by building
better
boxes.
Welcome to
The Best Hour of Your Day.
All right, we're here with PushPress. We've got Nick and Barry. We've got Nick, the Chief Revenue Officer. We've got Barry, the Vice President of Customer Experience. And we're going to talk all about how PushPress excels at being unreasonably
Hospitable.
Hospitable.
There we go. Finishing each other's sandwiches this early in the morning.
So we've had you on in the past with Dan. We're here at the 2024 CrossFit Games. You are a sponsor of the Best Hour booth here. It's not their booth, Nate, but they are a proud sponsor.
They are good friends. They're good friends.
Friends with Benny's.
Yeah. I like it.
It's awesome to be here. Absolutely awesome to be here.
Yeah, so we were chatting. We chatted about a lot yesterday, most of which I've forgotten already. But the common theme of all of those conversations is very much centered around customer service, right? Obviously, you guys are a technology company, but you know what I appreciate about what you guys lean into, because I talk to your team a lot, is what's good for the experience, not just necessarily for the athlete, but really what's interesting to watch you guys. I don't want to say pivot, that's probably not the right word, but start to focus on is like, what's the gym owner and staff's experience inside of the PushPress ecosystem in order to then take that and then outwardly turn it towards the members in the gym. So we were chatting earlier, and you're like a big, Unreasonable hospitality guy, Savannah Bananas. Like, what is that like customer service experience that PushPress is chasing at this point?
Ultimately, it's that unreasonable hospitality. How can we take that idea of being unreasonable? And what is unreasonable? Unreasonable is just things that aren't scalable. Mm-hmm. But what we're trying to do digitally is figure out, how do we scale that mindset of being unreasonable?
Right.
And having a team of gym owners that come in, and they're the ones that are answering the questions and helping everybody that sends in a support question or onboarding them. It's the mindset, the knowledge that they have isn't just here's how you set up a system, or here's how you use PushPress. It's here's how you operate your gym with this tool. And it's something nobody else is doing. And so as we go through that, it allows us to focus a little bit more on opportunities to find unreasonable things we can do. And it might be little bits of an example I'll give is last year at the CrossFit Games, we had an owner who left their Yeti in our booth. And we went ahead and, before they got home, ordered a custom Yeti with our logo and their logo on it. So when they arrived back at their gym from the games, it was sitting there. Not a scalable moment, but it's a unreasonable thing. They don't expect, and nobody expects a software company to do that. But now that person is a raving fan. They talk about PushPress everywhere they go. They've applied to work for us now, and it's all because of that culture.
Is it not a scalable moment? I feel like those things can be. Maybe not 100%, but I do think they scale past a singular interaction. So for instance, like, I spend a lot of time thinking about this, right? So we think about what's all the data inside the systems. Like, we got PRs and attendance and check-ins, but that's arguably 50% of or less of a member's experience inside the gym. I would argue the bigger ones are their first box jump. They did a rope climb for the first time. They strung butterfly kipping pull-ups together. And I think building systems around allowing that free flow of communication to just be something that people think about, right? So if we think about unreasonable hospitality, like, the communication was really the conduit for making the unscalable scalable, which is like everybody's on the lookout for that thing, and then everybody just communicates. They're like, hey, they left their Yeti here, we need to do this, or like, hey, so-and-so got their first box jump, make sure that we reach out. So I am actually on the other end. I think those things are scalable if it's part of the culture.
Right.
I think that's the difference, right? Yeah. Like, sending one Yeti to every single individual may not be as scalable, but having everyone in the entire organization aligned with look for the way to make a difference in someone's day,
Right.
100%. That is scalable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the act of being unreasonably hospitable is scalable. The specific acts themselves is where you just have to build. Within Best Hour, we have a culture of like, there's a dollar amount, and if you need to just spend it because, Katie's always like, someone's, cat
Had a
turned
baby or-
14,
yeah,
and it's like, we need to send a present, right? I'm like, cool. Like, she'll always message us, by the way, I sent this, this, and this. And that's what you're saying, Barry. It's not that somebody leaving something isn't a scalable moment,
Right.
but thinking outside and like, what do we do here?
Thinking that, having that mindset. And again, to be able to have a team with the unreasonable mindset, you have to have a high level of just standard service. Again, going back to unreasonable hospitality and those
By the-
high-end restaurants.
By the way, Unreasonable Hospitality, Will Guardia, is that how you say his name?
I don't know if that's safe or not. That is the name.
But it's a yellow book.
Yep.
Fern, I'd say it's yellow because it's pretty obvious when you
Yeah, yeah.
find it.
Yep.
But you guys have read it within
Yep.
we share it with all of our
Everybody.
staff. We've recommended it to clients. We would like to get them at one of our events that's
Yeah.
coming up next year because it's one of the best books I think for affiliate owners. They
I think it's one of the best books I've ever read.
And it was
honestly.
in a real. I listened to it. It was a really enjoyable listen. So
Yep.
anyway, Barry,
Yeah, it was when I listened to it too, and then I went and ordered the book so I could read it again.
you don't have to one up me, Barry. I get it.
That's the customer experience.
I read it.
How do
I
you-
then I read
you
it.
one-up your customers?
And then I rewrote it.
Exactly.
Again. I wrote the second edition.
Yeah.
And now there's a new Audible version with Jason reading the book. that you
I
can
brought the
listen
cliff
to.
notes. You don't even have to read it. I'll just give you the high notes. Yeah. It's what are there some things that you guys are working on currently that kind of fall in that bucket? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it's like, how does our team deliver that to the customers? How does our product team deliver that to the customer so that they can deliver that to their customers, right? To the members of the affiliates. One example, we're at Coaches Congress in Stockholm early last year.
Berlin.
Was it Berlin? Oh, it was Berlin.
It was Berlin.
Man, that was forever ago.
Barry's
2
always
Decembers ago.
correcting people. You notice that?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem very
okay, world travelers, got it.
reasonable or hospitable. This guy. He's in the right role.
Get the details right.
He's got a.
So we had talked a lot about like redoing our store app, redoing our check-in app, updating some of that tech, and we're with our head of product and we're going to a little bar kiosk, and it's like, man, this flows great. This is really smooth. It was so smooth that we drank like all the beer that they had in the area, right? Like,
We just kept testing it. Like, what
Hey,
happens if you buy
What happens
two?
if I'm really drunk?
What happens
Nick's
if you buy
like, luckily
three?
I'm the chief revenue officer, so we're gonna have to adjust the P&L for this month. Yeah.
yeah, maxed out the expenses for that one. But so from that point, Chris McConaughey went through and tested like 32 different kiosks across everywhere he went. It was like, oh, there's a kiosk, and how does this work?
Sucks.
What's
This
the
is a
best
bad
way to
UX, yeah.
Yep, exactly. And I think we were talking to him yesterday about it. He's like, I think I probably tested another 30 or 40 more since that first 30 that helped create the design. So I think where maybe people may not understand of like the amount of research that goes into like, how do you deploy a really amazing tech experience in a business, in a fitness business? And it's not just like, oh, let's just put a button here and make it work. And there's way more to it than that, right? So
I try to explain this to a very simple example of this is a gym owner's signing somebody up for a membership. And I'm like, hey, walk me through it. And they're like, oh, they come in and they sign up. Like, no. I want to, like, they hand you the card. Then what happens? They're like, well, I put their payment information. How? Are you in that dusty ass keyboard where the buttons stick at the gym? And I'm like, that is a horrific experience because now there's this weird, awkward silence where you're over there like, oh, wait, what's your zip code again? I'm like, what's the CVV on the back of the card? And you're like, this is a shit show. And I think looking at it, going 2, 3, 4 levels deep into the weeds on very common but seemingly mundane interactions is where you start to ingrain that culture, which is like, if you're just watching that interaction and you're starting to get, this is like cringe, you're like, we have to change this. Like that should be a, hey, cool, welcome. And I give it back to you. And then I'm like, and then we move on. And that's what I try to teach people. I'm like, do the transaction later, save that, and then go back to the client. We could do everything past capturing that information. Everything else can be done post-interaction.
Right.
So I think it's weird stuff like that people don't think about all the time, where it's just like, hey, that's a less than ideal interaction for many reasons.
Yeah, I think one of the things I like that we did in that kiosk app is we added in, if you're going to come sign up, you pick your plan, you want to drop in whatever, a QR code pops up. They scan it on their phone, Now it's on them to enter the information in. Well, if I'm entering my information in, you can still talk to me. You can still ask me questions about me, and I can answer those because I've got my info. You don't need to check
Well, most
the
of it's going to
CVV.
auto-populate anyway
It's
on your
going
phone.
to auto-populate. Now they can just push their credit card number in there, and the conversation can still happen. So
Right.
now that experience, that getting to know them, getting to know their pain points, where they're coming from, you can do all of that while they're signing up.
Yeah.
Yep.
I like that.
So what are some of the things you've implemented virtually? You know, you mentioned the Yeti at the booth, but what are some of the things that are happening for your PushPress clients virtually now?
So one of the things in support itself, when you send a message in, we went pretty heavy into AI and have a team training an AI bot to just answer those basic repeatable questions.
So you're getting fast results for the
Faster, instant results on the basic things. And ultimately we did that to allow our human team more time to just be face-to-face with clients.
We talked about this at length yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Separate from this, I was going to say, yesterday I was talking to someone at Tannehill's that switched over. Do you still have less than 50 members is included in PushPress?
We still have a free product.
Free product. He was saying he listened to the podcast from last year. We talked about it, switched over. So just a reminder out there, if they have less than 50 members.
So technically they can go higher than that. It's primarily based off of like size of gym. So it's there's
Is that
little
revenue or
correct.
members revenue? Got it.
Yeah, yep. So there's a small premium on the payment processing side. If someone is around, say, 10K or less, perfect for them.
That's unreasonable.
I think so.
Yeah, that's cool. If you're listening, could be a reason to check them out. And you were saying, Barry?
With the AI, what it does is as we continue to grow and kind of scale our team and keeping gym owners and experts in gym ownership and using the software there, what we found was their time was becoming scarce. So the options were bring in more people, try to find more experts who really care and are really empathetic and really understand, which can be hard to do. Or let's make their job a little bit easier. And that's where AI came in.
I would argue for most gyms in most scenarios, we'll go with like the most cubed, right? Like they're not going to be able to bring those people in. You're going to have to train them, or you're going to have to build systems around them that I can hand to Jay, who is perpetually late for work, doesn't care about actually doing it right, so that in order for we can get that right.
Often doesn't even do the work.
Correct. Yeah. It's a real problem. This is hypothetical, of course, but but I think that is. So when we were talking about AI yesterday, and I don't know if it might have been Chris had asked me about, hey, how do you see AI in this space? The way I see AI, I think a lot of gym owners see AI and their immediate reaction is that gets to replace some of my client interactions. And I think that is fundamentally the worst use, at least currently. I'd be willing to backtrack on that down the road. But currently, I think the best use for AI is to shorten the delivery of information to the gym owner so that they can then go have the interaction with the client. So
100%.
Making sure that they get as much information about a lead that comes through so they can make the call, making sure they get as much information about, things that have happened to Jay inside of the box this month so that he can just reach out unprompted, be like, Doe, you hit 2 PRs this month, like you're about to hit your 100th workout, like keep going, you're crushing. That's where I see AI to be most valuable, where traditionally I'd have to run a slew of reports. I'd have to be able to dissect them and interpret them correctly, and that might take hours to have that interaction for one person.
Right.
And this is where gym owners are like, fuck it, like now I need more members, right? Like and I default back to, how do I just sell more instead of how do I interact more? At which point selling becomes significantly easier at that point.
Right.
Exactly.
What are do you have any other specific examples of you guys being unreasonable with their customer service?
I mean, some little things. We've been a big sponsor of a lot of the affiliate summits all over the country.
Yeah, we see you guys there all of them. Yeah.
Said numerous times, yeah.
Yep. And so one of the things we've done just this year, Jacob Hepner runs our events. He's been absolutely amazing at this. And so we show up and we realized we kind of need some cocktail tables to, interact with customers around.
Some high tops or just gathering places.
And so it was one of those, well, are we going to ship tables and back and forth to each one of these? It's like, no, but what if the host gym always got the 2 high top tables with their logo on them, and we ship them there and they keep them.
I like
so it's
that.
a gift.
Yeah.
We've done it for all the affiliate summits.
What are some of the ways you think affiliates can do more?
Oh, there's a lot. There's a lot. It's to me, it's the Jason's coming in for a no sweat intro today. He'll be here at noon. Hey, Jason's coming in for a no sweat intro today. He'll be here at noon. Jason's coming in for a no sweat intro today. He'll be here at noon. Next thing you know, you walk in the door. Hey, Jason, great to see you. Nick will be up here to meet with you in a minute. Like, just the.
They know your name.
Everyone knows your name. Everyone knows you're coming. Everyone knows what time you'll be here. It's expected. You're treated like a guest.
So there's Allison Chikowski, she's one of our biz dev coaches. She runs Odin CrossFit. They have a fantastic gym in Frederick, Maryland.
400 members.
Yeah, 400 members. They're crushing. Wow. They are super culture centric. So I've been to their gym. I've been around their community. And I'm like, this is it. Like, this is exactly, you see it. Like, not just in the gym, but in a social setting. I forget what function they use inside of PushPress, but they do a great job. Like, we created a similar channel in Slack, which is like daily what's happening, which is like, these are the random things that you're not going to capture anywhere other than like, hey, there's 3 no sweat intros. It's going to be, Jay and Dan and Fern and Barry, or like whatever it's going to be. That's 4:30, 5:30, and 2:45, like whatever it's going to be. And that way everybody knows. So we started implementing simple things like that, which is, I want everybody to know what that person's name is, because if the person that you're meeting with knows your name, great. Everybody knows your name. People are like, damn, like
that's cheers.
This is
that's
yeah,
cheers.
that's it, right?
Exactly.
You remember that?
Yeah. Everyone knows your name.
You guys too young to remember cheers?
No.
So I think it's stuff like that. So I think functions like that, and I think about how we interact, which is like, how do we capture all of the non-binary stuff? Like, how do we get past all the check-ins, the revenue, the PRs? Like, what's the actual personal component of tech or the gym that makes people actually stay?
Right.
And that's great, but I also think at some point that's not unreasonable. People knowing your name, the new person's name when they walk in, should. And maybe we're not there at all affiliates, but I know it happens at Rife. I know it happens at Odin, Allison, and Jason's gym, where it's everybody. That's simple. That's just a little better communication.
Simple, not easy.
Sure.
Simple, not
And
easy.
then I would say the next level to that, if we're just expanding on this one topic, is, hey, did we send a picture out the day before to be like, here's the door,
Right.
so you know where to walk in, and here's my face, and I'm going to follow up immediately with another text. And by the way, I looked on social media, and you're married, and is your husband going to come in, and how's your dog doing? Like, all those little, it's what we do I get on a call with a new client, and I'm like, they're like, how do you know all this? I'm like, I spent 3 minutes on your Instagram.
You scouted them. You understand who they are.
And it was like no time.
Right.
Yeah, that was one of the things I did. Was I took from CrossFit the red shirt, and I put my staff in red shirts. That was their uniform. If you're coaching, you wear a red shirt. And then if you came in as a lead and you book a no sweat intro, I would grab my phone. When I got the automation that said a new thing was booked, I'd grab my phone, record a video. Hey, Jason,
Super
Barry,
simple.
owner here, Pepper Fitness. Thank you. Can't wait to meet with you. When you get here and come through the front door, look for a red shirt.
Yeah.
Red shirts, find a red shirt. That's where you'll know who to talk to, all of that stuff. Because again, as CrossFit gyms, affiliate owners, not everybody's got a front desk person. So you have to set that experience, that expectation of what do I do? Because that is the most confusing thing for a person walking through the door the first time. Where do I go? It's a big open warehouse with a bunch of people working out. Who do I talk to?
It's already intimidating.
Yeah.
And you've
Right.
just knocked the level of intimidation down 3 pegs. And again, for affiliate owners listening, it's like, this is, in my opinion, the bare minimum, but many aren't doing it. So all you have to do to appear better than the affiliates in your neighborhood is the bare minimum. Now what happens if you do more?
Exactly.
Well, I think that I was given a presentation about this recently, which is, so if software, tools, whatever, you get information. One of the things that I really try to harp on recently is, so I get some information, it must answer the now what question. What do I do with that? Right? There needs to be an action item attached to that. Otherwise, it's kind of like not entirely useful.
Yeah,
It's
this
something
information is useless.
It's useless at this point. So whether there's a no sweat intro, it should answer the question, now what? Oh, I send them a text, whatever. So you're using AI, these other tools, to streamline or shorten the cycle to get you the information. And then as a gym owner, you just determine, okay, when that piece of data or that information comes to me, what is the answer to the now what question? What do I do with it? And I would argue, if you cannot answer that question, you might just need to think about it and answer it, or you don't need that information at this point, right? It's not pertinent to today, right? And what I'm trying to get everybody in is like, how do we help a gym owners operate today? Meaning like they walk, it's Tuesday, it's 9:45. What the fuck am I supposed to be doing today?
What's important to me and what's important to Proven is professionalism. And we want to make sure that everyone that we associated with or we work with brands like PushPress, professionalism is one of the biggest things. And the interactions that we've had on a daily basis, on a weekly front, heck, even at the latest of the hours, if we need a change or we need help or assistance, bam, they're the first to respond, and they've matched us or given us a platform to provide the best service for our community too. Because at the end of the day, we're trying to provide a product, a professional product at that, and we know that PushPress have got our best interest at mind.
But on that point, and I know slightly deviating from customer service, we have an entire dashboard, a best hour dashboard on PushPress giving you specific information that you should do something. In other words, if we're tracking, hey, our revenue's going up or down, but we're not doing anything about it, why are we tracking revenue?
Correct.
But can we talk briefly about some of the metrics that you put on the platform to...
That's still kind of beta.
Beta.
But it's in beta. Some of our clients are using it.
I think we may have early launch. I don't know when this will
I know
go
it's in the
live.
works. I talked to Dan about it maybe a month ago. So it's still in the works. But essentially, this is probably something I started working on maybe like a year and a half ago, which is most of the time when gym owners are looking at metrics inside of whatever CRM, it doesn't even matter. They're typically looking only in 1 month increments. And it's typically I'm looking at what happened last month. So it's like, by definition, it is now lag in nature. So I said, well, because, dude, we've all been there. You looking there, you're like, it's the second, you're like, I don't know what happened last month. You're like, shit, not good, right? Like, what do I do? And the answer is like, nothing. It's too late. So how do we shorten the cycle? So I started looking at, hey, let's look at everything in plus or minus 5. What happened 5 days ago? What's coming up 5 days from now? Because I inherently just handed that information to a gym owner. By default, you would start doing things. Be like, okay, attendance is down. What's going on at the 6 a.m.? I haven't seen that person in a week. You're like, okay, shit. Let's look at the programming. That coach is an asshole. This person may or may not be on like the dank list, right? And I'm like, well, there's actions attached to all of that information that I can preemptively engage with so that I don't get to the end of the month and be like, fuck, again, right? And it's like stuff like that. Another example would be like, every gym owner has 2 periods in the year, predictably, where revenue and lead flow will be down. And every year, the gym owner is like, oh, it happened again, right? And it's just like,
Or
can we do something?
Expect it. Like,
Right.
it's July.
I guess we're just going to eat shit this month.
Yep.
And it's just like, or conversely, we could do something about it. That's a macro version,
Yep.
So teaching people to think about it. But I think what has to happen is you have to shrink the timelines immensely and be like, hey, yesterday, tomorrow.
When you only live by the output metrics, right?
Yes.
And you don't pay attention or think proactively about the inputs that control them on a regular basis, the feeling that you have as a business owner, whether it's a tech company or a gym owner, is you're just pulled in constant directions, and it's this whiplash.
It's reactive in nature all the time.
And the nature of whiplash in a business is you may think you're feeling it as the owner. Imagine what the staff is feeling it. And if the staff is feeling it, imagine what the members are feeling. It just goes downstream, and it's like being in the back of a bus that's hitting fast turns, right? Like, so you have to flip it to bring calm and direction to the entire business. So shortening the window is a great step in that direction. And then thinking like, okay, why did I get those outputs? How do I control those? What are those actions?
What are they?
And those are the ones you really want to monitor. Those are the input metrics that will then make the outputs better and move in the direction you want to move.
So like if somebody's like, what are these metrics? Like, what are these super secret metrics? They're not secret. They're pretty obvious. So think like, hey, was attendance globally in the gym on trend, up or down? Right?
Yep.
On average, we look at it over the course of 8 months of like, hey, on average, you have 458 attendances per week. And then next week you look at it and you're like, 367. You're like, what's going on? So what's the checklist now? What do I do? Check the programming, check the calendar, contextually like, oh, it was 4th of July. We were closed for 2 days. What do I do with that information now? The answer is nothing. That makes sense now. But if it's a regular week, we go back and look at the programming, and I'm like, oh man, attendance was really low on Tuesday. What was the workout?
Yeah, it's 5K run.
5K run. Okay, cool. Yes, they should do 5K run. You run a brick and mortar business predicated on people coming into the building. Don't be an idiot.
August in Texas.
Right.
Do we need to go outside?
Do we need to do that? So then it's like, oh, okay, well, now I can start thinking about what would be the input. And most people don't think about this. Programming is an input
It is.
that has an output that can be measured in attendance.
Yep.
And if your programming is driving attendance down, you should stop doing that.
And contrary to that, if your attendance was up and it was a really fun chipper.
Do
and-
more of that.
Yeah, we need to do filthy 50s again,
Right,
right? Whatever it looks like. So on that note, these are all good metrics. What's some ways do you think we can apply this idea of unreasonable hospitality to increase those metrics?
I don't think we've told anyone. We're working on a
Top secret?
Bear the lead.
It's top
Bear the
secret.
lead.
Which one of
Doing
these
it
is
right
the
Top secret.
breaking
Stop
news
recording.
button?
now. I don't
Do you
know.
have
It's
one?
probably that one. Oh, I muted them all. No, that's laughter.
That was a- This is going to be funny.
Perfect.
Tell us a joke.
We are working on an entirely new suite of tools centered around Committed Club
Oh,
and
cool.
engagement.
Where'd you guys come up with that idea?
Yeah.
Weird, It's like getting people committed and showing up to your gym is a great way to drive business and growth, right?
Hey, number one, kids don't read the comments on the internet, but there was something happened. They were like, somebody was poo-pooing on us. They were like tabulating how many times people came into the gym and trying to incentivize them.
They
And I was
said
like,
this-
yes.
It was when they were.
I don't understand the argument,
It was when I was posting about doing one workout a day, and this dude's sharing all these negative comments. And one of the negative comments about us was, if you don't hit a minimum number of classes, they don't let you come to the gym.
Which
And I was like,
not true,
it's
by
the
way.
exact opposite of what it was like. You kind of had the right feel, I guess. We're trying to get them to 16, but that was encouraging you to come more. Not well, you missed 16, Nick, so you can't.
Sorry, you're
You
out.
gotta
You're
join
out.
Pepper CrossFit over
somewhere
there.
You're
else.
voted off the island.
So talk about it. Committed Club.
So, obviously,
Trademark,
plenty of
by the way,
gyms know
Is it
about
TM?
Committed Clubs,
Did we
right?
TM that?
But there's a bunch of nuances to what you can do with Committed Clubs, right? And we were talking with an owner yesterday, John from CrossFit Aries.
John Wells, yeah.
Yeah,
He was
Johnny
with us
Wells.
for a long time.
Yeah, awesome guy. And he's saying how, it's like summertime and you got people traveling, but they're still getting their workouts in and they're logging it remotely in their app. And then the next week they'll be back in the gym. Well, should they not be on the Committed Club because they logged a workout, but then the following week, maybe they didn't log, but they were there. Mm-hmm. So how can you start to get all the different touch points in a gym and give the owner the ability to say, Jason, you made the Committed Club because you were on vacation for 2 weeks,
Right.
but you were damn committed.
Yeah, you logged everything.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's the direction that we'll be going, right?
So just having a
And you
little
wanna
bit more nuance in that kind of check-in versus logged.
Right.
Yeah. I like that a
so
lot.
V1 will be the data behind it and being able to quickly and easily see on your dashboard
Yeah.
whether or not
At least get it.
who's your list
Yeah.
versus go to a check-in report, run your number,
Right.
see who made it down to 12 or whatever your number is, right? So remove the clicks, surface the data, and then we'll start adding in those nuances that allows the gym owner.
And
to
then,
control.
for something for you guys to think about, which is me as a gym owner, I'm like, how could I not have to go do any of that? How can all of this be automated? And on the first, it's here's your list. Everybody that qualified. I'm like, great, I don't have to do any of that stuff anymore.
Right.
That now can bypass me. Or maybe I'm just included in the communication. It goes right to whoever's posting social media. It's just hey, this is the list, run the raffle, make the post, here's the link to Canva for the template, make that happen. And I'm like, oh, I just watched it go through and it happened. And I'm like, all right, it's working.
So where we have, in a staff app, we basically have recreated Slack, a lightweight version of Slack for staff communication.
Oh, I just saw this recently. Yeah, you're right. Yep,
Right?
I remember. Yep.
So your daily brief,
Yep.
you would throw there in the staff app,
Yep.
and then everyone can get it, right? It's not buried in a text message, 17 messages deep.
Stop
after
doing that,
everything
by the
else,
way.
right?
No more text messages.
No more
threads for
text
coaches.
Gosh. So it's first of the month, here's who made the Committed Club. Or every week, here's the progress to the Committed Club.
Mm-hmm.
We need to get Jason, he's only at 9. We need to get him up a little bit, right? So you can start to begin, see a line of sight to taking the load off of trying to figure out who's where. You can also, halfway through the month, here's an update in the social feed for the members in their app. So you can begin to see how V1 is just surface the data to the gym owner easier. V2 is, begin to put those insights in the places where they need to be when they need to be there.
That's the beauty of that, right? And what you just described is a perfect example of, as you shorten the window for looking at the same data, it now becomes lead versus lag. You're like, so lag is at the end of the month, these people committed to club. Lead would be 15th of the month. These people are on track. What's action item? Encourage Jay. He's going to be one short on this current trend. Let's try to get him bumped up. Why? Because we know if they hit those marks, we know that their length of engagement starts to stretch out. We know that their likelihood of cancellation starts to drop by double-digit percentage points. What does that mean? That means that growing becomes easier because my churn rate starts to drop down. I don't need so much lead flow on the front end because I don't need to have 15 people come in that month because I'm canceling 9 and have a 9% churn rate. And I'm just like, but all of that goes back to like who's on track to be here a lot this month? And all that shit starts to sort itself out. You suddenly don't have to worry about those things anymore. I'm driving the positive metrics that I know would lead me to the positive outcome that I'm looking for preemptively.
Right.
And that's the stuff that you guys are building. And that's the stuff that gets me really excited about this because ultimately, that gives the gym owner intention when they walk in the gym every day. I know what I need to do. What are the most impactful interactions that I need to have in both directions, positive and potentially downstream negative, meaning like so-and-so is not trending in the right direction. That's what gym owners want to know.
Yeah,
what the fuck am I supposed to do today?
I mean, and to add to that with the encouraging part is like, if we do that for the gym owner, we also have to find a way for the gym owner to do that for the member.
Right.
So, V3 of it is all of a sudden that committed club shows up in the member app. You open the app up and you see that you're at 10 of 16. Or there's 2 weeks left in the month and Grow sends an automation out to you that says, hey, Jay, you've only been here 10 times this month. You've got 10 days left to get six check-ins.
Get them in. Yeah.
And building that type of stuff.
Gamify that.
You gamify it a little bit, but then you also take some of the manual task away from the coach to manually go encourage. Now you take that away. Now that gives them more time to get away from the computer, get off a device, and just stand there and talk to Jay.
I think.
And have an interaction.
Well, like you're both saying, that's a big part of this. It's freeing up the bandwidth of the owner and coaches for human interaction with their members to make everything else simplified and potentially automated.
Right.
But at least giving you more bandwidth now and reasons to communicate, like we're suggesting, you're 6 in or you hit a PR. All these automations help you think about what I can chat with them about.
There's two components to that. One is a lot of times like, hey, we have this automation. And I do think automations have a very relevant place inside of the gym. Hey, there should be email campaigns that are automated that go out and all this other kind of stuff. But when people are trying to automate personal interactions or only their interactions are based on negative things, which is like, hey, reach out to Dan because he hasn't been here in a while.
Or your credit card's not going through, right?
Yeah, he's like, hey, you owe us money, right? It's just like, you owe us money or you're going to cancel, so I'm going to call you, right? And they know that, by the way, right? So it's like, if I can streamline information, and so I always classify like this. When gym owners, if you want to have interactions, positive interactions or impactful interactions with members, it should check 2 boxes. 1, it should be relevant to the member. Should be relevant to an event inside of the gym. Number 2, it should be on a relative time frame, meaning I should be as close to the actual event as humanly possible. And if you're 1 day off left or right, they don't actually know. An example would be if they hit 250 workouts yesterday, but I get them a t-shirt tomorrow, do they actually know? Maybe, maybe not. Is the 24-hour difference between that interaction or not, is it a big deal? Probably not. If you could get it on the day, that'd be baller, don't get me wrong. But the closer I can get it, the more impactful the interaction is. But again, instead of just reaching out to them like, hey, you've been here for 3 months, and I'm like, yes. What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
I've been there once a week for 3 months.
Right, I see you every day, right?
What are you celebrating?
But if it's something that is relevant to them, which has to do with their progress, their journey, like what's happening to them, now it's like if I just call Jay and I'm like, hey, it's Tuesday, and he's like, yeah. Why are you calling me?
What did I do wrong?
Yeah, what did I do wrong? Or if I'm like, yo, happy birthday, he's like, thanks, dude, I really appreciate it. That's a different interaction because that has intent behind it.
A great way of knowing whether or not you're there or not, I think, as a gym owner is if you think about calling someone that hasn't been there and you're scared that they're going to cancel, so you don't do it, that's a sign that you're off in what you're talking about.
100%.
Like you haven't delivered it.
Yeah.
And I will tell everybody, you have to go through that because you're probably avoiding it right now. And I'm like, listen, there is some short-term pain in your near future, but you have to correct.
Right.
You have to get back through that. It is very short because we've done it, I don't know, 800 times at this point. You have to fix it. You have to get over that, because what you are doing is you are correcting a past mistake, right? They're like, if I call them, they're going to cancel. I'm like, they're going to cancel anyway. They're going to cancel because you've not called them.
And they're going to
you
cancel and ask for the money
Correct.
that you've been charging them.
Correct.
So,
you
it's like
have
the
to correct
budget.
it.
They're just avoiding doing something
They're just
they don't want to
avoiding
do.
doing the thing because having to face it is the problem.
We call we have a term at in tech companies like tech debt. Like you develop something and now you got to go back and redo it, right? This is almost like hospitality debt.
Oh yeah.
Or like service
I love
debt,
that.
or there's something in there. You got to pay that debt back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That you owe money on that one. And like you're paying it whether you like it or not.
It is amazing the number of gyms we see that come over from other systems and they're going to migrate members over, and it's like, man, when I come over,
I'm not getting that money back.
I'm going to lose.
Yeah,
I'm going to lose 10 members, and it's kind of like, you have 10 people who pay you that like you don't have interactions with, that you're worried about losing them. Like, there's a problem. Like, fix that.
But what you're also suggesting is if you migrate over to PushPress, a lot of these systems you're putting in place will help you keep other members longer. So you might lose 10.
Exactly.
Which is also, we don't see that. Like, every gym has the people you're worried about, and our goal is always, well, how do we keep them? What can we do? And it starts with reaching out. But yeah, say you're going to lose
there's some strategies there. I'm giving a presentation on that
5 of those
this afternoon in the lounge.
Yeah, if you lose 5, but now 5 that are still with you stay longer, and everybody's in a better headspace and connection to the gym.
So funny story on migration. When I switched over to PushPress, I got to a point that I stopped billing a member. Like, I kept my other system going and was still billing them a little bit, and then I was like, you know what, I'm just going to cut the cord. So I canceled it.
You kept the original processing system.
Just for a little bit, and I cut the cord, and it was like a month, and I got a phone call from a member who I hadn't seen in 4 months, and he's like, "Dude, did you kick me out of the gym? Like, you didn't charge me this month?" And I was like, "Man, you haven't been here in 4 months.
Yeah.
Like, just when you're ready to come back,
we're gonna come back.
When you're ready to come back, we'll start it." And he goes, "No, dude, just start my memberships. Like, seeing that charge every month just reminds me I need to find the time to come in."
You're like, does it?
Okay. I mean, and he came
I think I need to charge you more than,
He came in that week.
Definitely hurt more. Yeah.
He came in that week and came in one time, charged him, and then I didn't see him for 2 months again. And I'm like, I canceled it again, and I'm like, we'll see if he replies back. But I was like, man. So the one I thought I was going to lose, as soon as I stopped charging him,
He came in.
He called and was like, dude, you didn't charge me.
Well, that goes to show, because we'll have members say that, and I'm like, they're adults. Like, not many adults don't notice a $150, $200 charge on their credit card. So it's serving a purpose, whether you realize it or not. And because that guy might see that charge and like, oh, I eat better for 3 days after that.
Exactly.
And
It's
I
like
think about
weighing
going to
yourself.
right.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't recommend keeping a system
Right.
just to charge 10 members. Like,
Yep.
I don't know. The cost benefit analysis on that might say to do it.
yeah, it was before you read the book.
Exactly. Exactly.
So
Going back to maybe some of like we were just talking about this a couple days ago internally at PushPress on like why haven't a lot of these types of tools like surfaced in this space yet? And it's interesting because it's like when you're building like software for a gym, there's like we say the table of things to build is really big. Like digital document systems are like there's DocuSign, like a multi-billion-dollar business, and every gym management software builds like that. And then it's like, well, what about scheduling? Like, well, that's Acuity. What about the mobile apps? Well, we've just replaced Slack.
Yeah.
Then our social feed
Shopify.
replaces Facebook.
Yeah,
and it's just like you layer all these things on. To me, the exciting thing about where we're at as an organization is we're turning the corner from building the things that have to be on the table to like making the table bigger and elevating it, right? Like, how can we like say we're past all the basics?
Right.
Now let's change the industry. Let's change the game. So that's really, really cool to see. So that's where some of these extra features are.
Honestly, that's been the fun part for me about working with you guys is saying like, hey, I see what you're building. Like, I think there's a slight tweak on that as an operator who's like looking at it happen real time, and I'm like, hey, this is if you build it that way, it's going to be just like 1 degree off. Mm-hmm. Based on what we know, how I know that client's going to interact with that coach at that time. It's just like, all right, well, let's just change it just a little bit, and let's give the gym owner the information here instead of here, right? Because they'll be able to do something with it, and they won't have anxiety about it and stuff like that. So that's what's really been fun for me to work with your team on. like, I forget when it was. I had a like crazy long call with him not too long ago. I was like, it's like me and like 9 of the tech team. I was just like, am I going to get beat up in this?
No,
Exactly.
that feedback is so critical, though. You know, because we have a million touch points, and we listen to gym owners and what they need and what they're asking for and how they run their business, and affiliates run their businesses all in slightly different variations of themselves. So it can make you can get pulled in a lot of different directions, but also being able to say like, hey, look, there's a trusted organization like Best Hour that knows their crap. They're moving the entire affiliate game in the right direction. What do you think the industry needs? And we hear the same thing from, you know, HSN and a lot of other trusted mentors and coaches in the space. And that really does help us focus in on where we need to take the roadmap.
Well, I don't even want to see the requests you guys that come in. I'm in a couple of the chats and I'm like, whoa, it's rough in there. But having the wherewithal to canvas the space and look at, hey, we need this and we need this and we need this. And it's like, what you're requesting is based on pain, which is probably not the solution to your actual problem. So having the wherewithal to zoom out just a little bit, hey, I know why that hurts, but the thing you're requesting is not actually going to fix that, right? We need to go like 2-3 steps behind that and figure out what's the root cause of that pain. Not like, hey, we need to do this because I don't like to interact with my members. I'm like, why don't you like to interact with your members? Oh, because I'm interacting with them about the wrong things. Let's fix that.
Right.
Then you'll have no problem interacting with your members, right?
Yep.
Everybody loves to be like, yo, here's a gift card for your PR last month. Like, no gym owner's like, I don't want to do that, right?
Yeah.
Every gym owner is like, hey, your thing bounced last week. We got to take you off of ACH because you'll still want to be at the gym, maybe, kind of, right? Like, that sucks, you know? So that's the part that I think is really that I don't envy you guys on, because you have to sift through a lot of data to be like, hey, is that relevant? Is that an actual solution, or is it are we just addressing somebody's pain because of a systems problem?
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah, and then it's maybe the ideal solution is 6 months of effort out.
Right.
But you could put a Band-Aid on it.
Right.
You know, the short-term pain, and
Right.
that's always like a balance too. And you know, I don't envy our product team that has to like reach out, like do all the research, figure out the way to, address the pain.
Address the pain.
As
'Cause
quickly as possible.
You do have to address the pain, but you don't always have to create a solution for that pain. And no different for gym owners, right? They're like, hey, we always joke, be like, everybody's mad. And I'm like, who's everybody?
Sally's mad.
Be like, Sally. And be like, okay, what's Sally mad about? She's mad about this. And I'm like, okay, I could see why Sally might be mad about that. Like, we're going to change the programmer, right? And I'm like, no, we're not.
Yeah.
I understand why Sally's mad, but that doesn't mean we have to change the programming. What does she want? She wants us to do a longer Metcon. I'm like, great. Tuesday, longer Metcon. Sally's
And
happy.
one more round.
Yeah.
I always like a few of us were talking.
I want names.
Who? Well, it was me and, I talked to Joe.
It was just you and Joe?
Did Joe say anything, or did you go to him and tell him this first?
Well, it was my
He
idea.
just nodded his head and said, yeah, and now you think he's in on it.
I talked to Joe. He didn't even want to be there. So yeah.
Barry, Nick, look into this camera and tell us why, if you're a CrossFit affiliate, you should consider migrating to PushPress.
Because we care.
There we go.
Simple enough.
Simple enough. It doesn't have to be difficult. It doesn't have to be long. We care.
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. If you guys want to reach out to the PushPress team, by all means, where's the best place to reach out to you guys?
Pushpress.com.
Okay.
We'll put Instagram,
Yep.
Facebook, all the socials in there.
Yep. And if you have questions about any of the stuff we talked about, whether it's different automations they're working on, dashboards, information flow, if you want to reach out to us directly, we can hand you guys off. Happy to do that. But genuinely appreciate what you guys are doing in the space. I think we're all in alignment with this, which is, hey, CrossFit affiliate owners should be the leading edge on that. And if we can make their jobs easier so they can have higher impact, then everybody wins in that scenario. So
100%.
appreciate you guys.
Good
Thanks.
work.
Have a great rest of the weekend. Yep. Cool. And we'll
you.
see you guys next time. Thanks for checking out this episode of the Best Hour of Their Day podcast. We appreciate you listening and choosing to have us help you in your passion for coaching and affiliate ownership. You can find more episodes just like this on all podcast platforms. If you're interested in learning more, you can reach out to us on any social media platforms, or you can visit www.besthouroftheirday.com to book a call. If you found this episode helpful for you, please share it so that we can help other coaches and affiliate owners to help build a bigger and stronger CrossFit community. Thanks for listening.